what's up? Red Panda Anthem. Red Panda, what's good? Red Panda Anthem. It's your boy.
Okay, Joe Rogan. This has been a
spoke
big
about this a little bit last week. Yep.
It's actually spiraling. It's spiraling. It started off as one thing. Now it's turned into a whole other thing.
Yeah.
He had to put a 5-minute apology. I couldn't watch the whole thing. It was kind of long.
The second apology.
I just saw the one he put on Instagram. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Last week it was about
Corona.
Corona.
But they
the
N-word situation.
Then they put they made a whole video, a collage.
This is becoming a big thing. So, okay, what are our thoughts on Joe Rogan controversy and top 3 lessons for content creators?
You guys want to start, or you want me to go?
I mean, I feel like I feel like this is up your wheelhouse. So,
we talked about it via text, but the number one lesson, you have to be mindful of what you say, because as you grow, the things that you say, if they're damaging, will be used to destroy you. Number 2, it's a big lesson that my dad has taught me, and we've chimed in on it personally. You have to be very careful who you attack, because when you attack someone, and Charlemagne says it all the time, you're not responsible for how they reply to you, right? So when he went off on Sanjay Gupta and NBC and CNN, and they don't know, and also Joe's the biggest podcast platform we have, he didn't factor in what happens when they then coordinate their attack. I cannot prove it, but in my heart of hearts, I was telling Corey this. I'm like, I feel like CNN, NBC, Apple, SoundCloud, and all the music distribution services are now going to attack them to drive down the value of Spotify, to make him either leave, and then now we can tear apart Spotify, or get him out of that space, so no one person has that kind of power ever again. And then number 3, as far as I love his podcast, I love his format, the clips, but I heard the apology. For us, I want to say we have to stop being upset at the potential of somebody being racist towards us if they're not Black. We should almost at this point expect it. And I get the apology, and he was trying to give context around why, but in the era that we live in, and him being in Hollywood for so long, you have to know what you're doing and what you're saying. But most importantly, whether he leaves Spotify or makes another entity, he'll be safe. But the third lesson I want all creators to take into consideration is build a platform that is so powerful that you cannot be canceled. And I know it's tough to think about and do, but as I'm seeing more Black creators put out content, the thing is, I want you to have value that no one else is able to give. And we do this with Market Mondays, and they do it with EYL. Amazing episode coming out with Change Tuesday. So please tap in and watch that. But you have to build something that is almost indestructible, because anytime you're climbing up a mountain, you guys have seen it on a smaller scale happen with us, people, they really don't know, and who does he think he is? And you have to build a platform in which you help so many people that you cannot be destroyed by anybody.
But even that's another thing that Charleston White said, was like his whole thing was, I'm gonna be the bad guy, because being a good guy, all they're gonna do is tear you down. They're gonna root for you to the point, and then they're gonna tear you down. And he was like, he's seen it happen time and time again, where, this is the good guy. We love him until only thing America loves more than an underdog story is to see a fall from grace. Britney Spears, entertainment. Yes. It's entertainment.
She's a prime example. Yep.
Yeah. My thing was like, he's been doing podcasts for 12 years, right? Up until this $100 million deal, they weren't paying attention to these things. Like every clip is from the past. And so my thing is like, cool. They're like, well, there's a freedom of speech thing here. I'm like, well, okay, if that's your stance, we're going to stand by him. That's the CEO stance. And his thing was like, well, now we're going to put $100 million to disadvantaged communities, 100 million into podcasting. I'm like, well,
100 million.
Is that the answer?
I was going to, you know what? One rule. All right, this is something to think about. This is something to think about. This is just life in general, right? This is how I was raised. Is before you say anything, think about it 5 times. Think about it 5 times before you say anything, because what you say can and will be used against you. Like they used to say in the court of law, now it's in the court of public opinion. And the thing with the internet is that nothing ever goes away. Nothing ever gets erased completely, no matter what. So you could have said something 10 years ago or 5 years ago or 5 months ago, and now you're in a whole different, wave. You're in a whole different, way of thinking. But that what you said, somebody has that. And when the time is right, they're going to either try to extort you or they're going to use it against you to tear you down. So be extremely mindful, and that's easier said than done, because it's like we talk for a living. So it's easy. If you're talking for 10 hours, it's easy to, I'm not making an excuse for them. I'm just saying just in general. If you talk for 10 hours, it's easy to say something that you should have said.
Yeah.
Or misspeak.
Yeah. Be extremely mindful of what you say. Our personal philosophy with EYL from the beginning was nothing controversial, because we understand that we already up against an uphill battle already. Like we fight an uphill battle, we Black. So we don't necessarily need to be put in other things that is not our mission statement. Our mission statement is financial literacy, helping people in business, finances, investing, things of that nature. There's other people to fight different battles. Everybody's got a different battle to fight. That's not our battles to fight. Nothing controversial. Once you start to fall into that world of controversy, just be prepared for it, because ultimately you're on other people's platforms 99% of the time, right? So when they pull the rug from under you, or when you no longer have funding, and 9 times out of 10, your core supporters are not going to support you
at all.
Not. Shout out to Reza Islam.
Yeah.
Have you seen him? I mean, he's on Big Facts. Shout out to Revolt for letting him come on. But I mean, have you seen him?
Yeah, but I mean, think about the contrast.
No,
right?
seriously.
We haven't seen him. I'm saying just think about the contrast, right? Even with Reza Islam, even when Kevin Hart has some things he said in his past in comedy, and now he was trying to host the Oscars, and like, now you can't host it, right? My thing was like the CEO, regardless of all the things he said, I mean, he might not disagree. He might have disagreed with it, but he's like, yo, I'm standing with him.
Of course, they're gonna stand with him.
Cash cow.
He was talking about Black people, bro. Like
this is what I'm saying. So like, we can't let's not disguise that. Like, yo, it's gonna be a lot different if we say something versus.
But that's why I said we are.
But we gotta make people. They gotta be aware of it.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. If we stand together, and that's what we have these conversations privately offline, and I have them with other people. If we stand together, we can shake the room. Like that's why I put on even with the Chanel thing, the value of Chanel bags are going up even more, and we're buying them, but they won't do anything for us. Why? Because if you give your money or your vote away, they have no incentive to take care of you. So and we saw it when that stuff happened with Joe Button at Spotify, when everyone didn't leave there, that was a sign like, yo, they don't give a fuck about the artists they say they care about. We saw Britney get destroyed for 5 or 6 years and nobody cared. And we have this is the part about discipline that matters so much to me. If we can't stand up for ourselves collectively, every company is going to use us. Even with the Gucci thing back in the day, they will put caricatures on clothes of us from the Sambo era and all that, like blackface. And when I go to the Galleria, the Gucci and Louis lines are the longest in the mall.
Yeah.
So we are going to get treated like shit until we take a stand and say, hey, as soon as someone says something, we're going to boycott you immediately for 5 years, no matter what happens. No apology can fix that, because in the Jewish community, if you say something, oh baby, they're over with. That day, they're getting on you. So that's the reason why no company treats us with the respect that we should have.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'll say this to wrap up too. Even on the controversy point, Hit 'Em Up may be the only diss record that actually made money and was beneficial for the artist. Who Shot You was a street record, but look at all the
Ether.
Ether, yeah. But maybe
Drake song too.
Yeah.
Back to back. Okay, so three out of 3,000. Controversy does not make money.
Controversy can make money, but it's dangerous.
The downside risk is so high.
It's high.
It's not worth.
It's dangerous because because even with the Tupac and Biggie thing, it worked out, but they both died. Biggie never really dissed Pac like that publicly, but that energy that Pac was bringing, ultimately,
that Apollo thing he did, it just didn't come out. Big was going crazy at Apollo.
Yeah, there was Lil C's getting an interview. Yeah, they had a record.
No,
they had a record. It was going to be on Busta Rhymes' album, but Busta said, "I can't put this out. You my friend."
But even that was a subliminal. He
said straight to him.
He said, "Skinny dude." He said, "I heard what little."
We're gonna skip that. Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
There's no money in controversy. The upside, the downside risk, and the legal cost too high. That's why, like, even if you see the stuff with how Alex Jones, Reza Islam, Minister Farrakhan, they're using that same blueprint on Joe Rogan. and it may not work this time, but they're using and we have to be very mindful, because if you can't say anything on your own platform, and even with the COVID stuff, I listened to all those interviews they was talking about with those people. They were not salacious. The one with Robert Malone was not crazy. He was not talking out of turn. He was not being disrespectful or like a conspiracy theorist, but it's like anytime you go against the establishment of what is, you gotta be mindful.
Sometimes you gotta just leave things alone.
So all the episodes that were in question have been pulled down. And they said they're supporting them 100%.
How you feel about Spotify stock? The last thing to talk about with this.
They're dying too. The kid, the dog, everybody dying, no lying. Hey, Daniel, you need to do something. You need to make some calls, because we got a group of people who will be loyal supporters, but we need equity. You're not gonna do me how y'all did, Joe. Shout out, Joe.
Joe Rogan or Joe Biden?
Button.
Okay.
Their core business is now, so people pulling their music off the platform. Now their core business is podcasting. And so they had 3.2 in 2019, they had 600,000 podcast creators. Last year, that number went up to 3.5 million, and they're projecting 50 million by 2025.
Podcast shows?
Yeah. And so I was watching CNBC, and they're like, well, how are they making money in podcasts?
Look at Shotty face. What he's saying is most y'all garbage. Keep it 1,000. And this is what
100 million y'all was talking about.
This is what I'll tell y'all about equity and perpetuity. If I bring y'all 125,000 people who didn't pay $20 a month, what is that worth? No, you're not giving the brand up. And that's why I keep telling y'all, build the business first, then go do a deal. You don't need a deal. If you're the equity, I'm the equity. They're the equity. But what do I know? Daniel, make that phone call though. But you coming with some equity off top. And you can have these kind of conversations when you're free. Oh, this is B school. Like, nah, y'all took the boy Button over there and let him run y'all numbers up, and then they want to pay him on the back end. Yo, this industry shit is crazy. Shout out Marvin. I'm like, how do y'all deal with this robbery? Boy, I'm Tupac Sugar and Lucian in one. Daniel, make the call. You're coming with some equity though. And we'll build some. Oh, but if there's a service that builds a DSP for artists and they give them 50% of the royalties that come from their streams, boy, y'all can set the world on fire. And I cannot wait to see it. I cannot wait.
We're gonna monitor this closely.
Spotify, stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Hey.
Still in the meeting.
Ian guy, is he really like that in person, or is that just entertainment? It's
Lord
just
is back.
entertainment.
This that Red Panda Anthem. Ian, what's up? This that Red Panda Anthem. Rap Panda, what's good?